All right, ready?
I'm ready if you're ready.
You sure?
I guess so.
All right, what's up, Purists? It's Bob from Purist Motorsports. Guess what we get to play with today? Oh yeah, SA10 number 2. This is part of the PAS collection that Mark curates. And we thank him for letting us take part in this. But let's get started. This is gonna be fun. Ah, number 2.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Are you excited?
Yes.
This is like totally your wheelhouse right here.
It is.
Yeah.
It is totally mine.
When you first called me, you were like, hey, could we? I said, well, what are you asking me, Bob? Do you want to do a photo shoot with some of the cool cars? Well, yeah, but how about the SA10? Can we do that one?
Yeah, of course.
I'm like, I don't know. Yes, of course.
Top of the list, for sure.
Part of the fun of owning a car like this and being able to take care of it is being able to share it, especially with an enthusiast like you that has gone so far that they actually bought a car and replicated the car. That means a lot, and I think that's really cool.
Well, we'll say the VIN does fall between number 3 and number 5.
Hey,
so it's
as original as you can get without being original.
Right, without being, yeah. It's not in the registry.
Exactly.
It's fine.
And you got to move and drive this, so you can tell everybody, hey, I've driven a bunch of SA10s. I thought it was great because I'm moving these cars around all the time. I didn't have to do it.
I've actually been lucky enough to, I've actually driven number 1, number 2, number 8, and well, my car, but it's not a 10.
Sure.
But those 4. It's, yeah, I've been around them a lot. Obviously, I've studied them, and more than I probably, well, insanity is a good word.
Well, look, I mean, I had to open a business because of all my insanity, so yes.
But, so this is car number 2, and these cars are very unique. They only built 9?
9 of them, correct.
All right, yeah, that's...
Even though it's an SA10, people don't realize that they didn't build 10 cars.
Right.
I even had a discussion with Steve when we were writing the Celine book, and we were going through some production numbers, and he goes, yeah, well, 10 SA10s, and he was, I remember because he was in the airport in Las Vegas, and I was talking to him on his cell, and he was like, I was like, Steve, you built 9 cars, and we sort of had a little bit of a toss and tuffle for about 5 minutes, and I read him the production stuff, and it clicked, and he's like, no, you're right, we only did that, that many.
Yep.
People don't understand that we were still in a national recession in 92 or 93. And this particular car was $50,000 brand new. Yep. You could buy a Ferrari for $50,000. There was a lot of stuff that you could reach out and buy. So these cars, I was kind of shocked that they were able to sell 9 of them.
Now, and to say that too, that the $50,000, there were different price points on these cars too, because the owners chose, well, as I've discussed on my channel, you could open the Celine catalog and put anything that was in it on these cars.
That's a real important point. This is actually the first car that Celine would custom build for the owner. So the owner went through the parts catalog, and if it was offered in the parts catalog, it could be put on the car and built.
Well, I guess to say, well, let's clarify, because there are some one-offs of cars that maybe an owner had an intake put on or something like that, that they either had the parts department or somebody at Celine capable of getting something done to a car for it. But as a model run of multiple cars, this is the only one Celine's done like this.
Well, early on, if you wanted to run different wheels and tires or something like that, Celine would do that for you. And especially some of the real early cars, but they're noted in the registry.
Right, right. And these are, I think you all even put it in the book. And if you need that, you're going to have to search for it. It's out of print, but you can find it sometimes on the shelf at bookstores, used bookstores. Highly unlikely because people covet those. I do.
They're on eBay from time to time. It's usually, about $60 for the book.
Yeah, the Celine book. And it was combined you, Brad Bowling.
Well, Brad Bowling actually wrote everything. It was Greg Wackett, myself, Stu Akers were really the 3 main people that did the book.
And y'all would be like people of reference that know these cars through and through. but it's one that you know, people confuse it because these cars are not alike. None of the 9
Right.
are identical at all, other than the look and then maybe the brakes and a couple of parts that were standard
Sure.
through the model. But as far as the cars themselves and the options, they're all different.
They are, and they very rarely come up for sale. So most of these cars now are owned by collectors, and it's sort of like the top piece of their car collection.
Well, it's moving art because of the look. I mean, really, for me, I will just say I wasn't introduced to the SA10 until it was 97. I think in our offline conversations in between takes here, you've commented that you were actually at the...
Yeah, we were at the celebration in Charlotte when they were supposed to introduce all these cars and give them to the owners.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
Well, for me, I caught on late, we'll say that. And the look really is just, for me, the yellow and black and white, just, you know, and I'm pretty sure, and I was given the information, Phil Frank is the one that did the drawing,
Right.
the sketch that most people see. You can find it online sometimes in searches. But all of them were supercharged.
Correct.
Now, some of them you could get a B trim, upgrade the supercharger.
Correct.
Right?
When it was offered, you have to remember this is in the infancy of Vortec, and Vortec was just coming out with new models and different changes. And it also depended on what was available, what the client wanted. It depended on what state they lived in and what the emissions requirements were, because this car still had to meet the emissions requirements of the different states.
Yeah, that's right. It's something that Saleen had to adhere to as a manufacturer, because that's what they
Right.
are. That they're not an aftermarket parts installer. Some of the other people in that industry, that they don't get the manufacturer's license.
Right.
Saleen has the manufacturer's license. That kind of separates them.
But these cars are super unique. You can get some that have the intake, some that have heads, some that have cams. It just depended on what the client wanted at that time. There are, I believe, 2 of the cars were base cars that were ordered. One was ordered by a dealer and one was ordered by an individual, and it's just a 93 car with a basic, you know, A-trim supercharger and headers.
I think that's right.
Right.
There were the supercharged motor from a factory what would be just a Ford motor.
Totally factory Ford motor.
Untouched by Saleen with the supercharger on it.
Right.
But it still got the same look and the leather interior. I know the yellow stitch seats with the leather.
Yes.
That was standard except for what, one?
One car had, number 3 had flow fits, and the owner, Debbie Blaylock, requested it was a clone of her SSC, which I think is really neat, because being the fact they're anniversary cars, if you look inside of them, you can see the differences, but yet they're very similar.
Yeah, and she had a speaker box in the back like the SSC.
Speaker box in the
right?
back like an SSC.
Yeah, cool. I do know that there were some standard parts that run throughout the model. The brakes, I want to say the caster camber plates, from the pictures I've seen, because I've seen pretty much all the cars but one. I have actually.
I want to say Panhard bar also was.
Yeah. I said that in one of my previous videos, but I was careful because it's just like.
Well, they were all different, and
Yeah.
it's like people don't understand. I had one of the cars and it had stock exhaust. I'm like, well, isn't it supposed to have Dynamax? I'm like, no, the car had the stock Ford exhaust.
Yeah, that's what makes these so mystical. And this one has what, 6-point interior. Well,
Right. This car's actually got a full cage in it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, rear seat delete. It's
It's stiff when
highly
you drive
optioned.
it. It's pretty amazing what the cage does.
Yeah, because I've actually driven this car with under the previous owner, you know, just to get it on a show field for him. And I had to, you know, in the show fields, they're always your.
And you don't feel that in this car.
No, it doesn't creak and rattle at all. It's
The
great.
unfortunate but fortunate thing is this car's still riding on the original BF Goodrich tires. They're fairly old at this point, so we don't really take this car out at speed, and this car's got right under 10,000 original miles on it.
Well, and I think that is a testament to it being, this is a very original car. Even the hood, you can see some of the delamination, which was a common problem with their first generation hood. So it still wears its very first hood. And Saleen offered a replacement.
Well, they sent a replacement out, but most of the owners didn't put the replacement hood on, because you have to remember, 92, 93, carbon fiber was IMSA GT stuff.
Yeah.
So it was very exotic. And that's one of the cool conversation pieces about this, is you'll get somebody comes up and goes, hey man, something's up with the hood. And it's sort of an icebreaker, and they go, well, no, it's not. This is how it was built.
Yeah, I think
Right.
you mentioned previously in our conversations Shelby. Like you could tell
Sure.
a 66 Shelby that's been repaired because the hood's, the original
The original hoods didn't fit right.
Right.
The same thing with 67 Shelbys, the nose pieces didn't line up. And if they do, then you know it's been restored.
Yeah.
So even though a lot of the owners of these cars have both hoods, I think it's kind of more cool to have the original hood that has the issues with it.
Yeah, because this one's open all the way through with the hinges cut and all that, which I replicated on my car to try to create it as if it had a first hood.
And it's fun when you wash it because the water gets down and then you have to clean the engine again.
Well, you know, it's
Yeah.
just, you know, makes you wash all of the car.
It does, yes. Pretty much every time we take one out, I have to take it apart and put it back together again and clean it.
Oh, you're the man for that job, that's for sure.
It's fun sometimes.
But you know, well, the superchargers. Let's see, we got to open it.
Yeah, hang on one second. Let me pop it. You've got to be so careful with these carbon hoods because they're so lightweight, you don't realize it's not closed, and then you run down the road and it visits the roof and the windshield. We don't want that to happen.
No, and I want to say that John McCauley, in the conversations I had with him, John McCauley was kind of the idea guy behind, well, he wanted a car. He was the president of the Saleen Club at the time, and wanted a car he could put anything on, and he was pressing Steve for it. And I think he was able to convince him to do a 10th anniversary model like we're talking about here. And his car, I think he had an instance where the hood came unlatched at speed. But that's true because they're so, I mean, it's just basically one layer with a couple of braces.
It's really light, and it's got factory hinges on it that are mounted sideways in the back, but and it will vibrate when you go down the road. It's a little bit heart racing when you see it and you think it's going to come loose, but it's just because there's no real structure in there to keep it from moving around.
Even the hood that I had, and I got it from, you mentioned Stu earlier. Stu helped me with the hood and making an accurate replica.
Right. Stu Akers is what we're talking about, yes.
And I will tell you, even the hood on Almost 4 is
oh yeah,
it rattles too. So you're right. But you know, the catalog with the options here, like this car has quite a few. We mentioned the cage. Pro M, the supercharger, you would have to pull the bell off of it to see that outlet.
I believe this one's a B trim. I'm not positive. I haven't taken this one apart, but this one's also got the GT40 heads, a camshaft. It was a built motor.
Intake.
The intake, exactly.
It's very cool to see what the first owners would have desired. I know in my looking of the cars, just being at shows and taking pictures and kind of, I know what the catalog had just from my studying. And some people chose a lot of suspension, wanted a car that had, adjustable shocks and things. Others wanted all motor, a balanced and blueprinted motor, Tremec transmission, it was interesting. Also, the gears are different.
327s in this car.
Yeah, that's right. Well, for me, it's amazing to be around this for a second time because this is the car I saw first out of all the SA10s. Walked into a shop local to me for a part for my 88 GT.
Then all of a sudden it was,
the halos, the heavens parted. It really was kind of one of those moments. I'm not going to lie. It was
these are really neat cars from the aspect of other car people know what this car is. They might not know what a regular Saleen Mustang is, but they know what an SA10 is.
Yeah, it's amazing the uniqueness of it, and then the rarity adds to it. And it's crazy what these cars are trading for behind the scenes. They never make it to public.
Well, and none of them really traded hands in the last couple of years. It was a few years ago, and I've gotten offers on this car that are just unbelievable, but we can't replace it.
Yeah.
Well, this car sat in my shop for many years. It's probably going to go back and sit in the shop again because we're running out of room at this facility. But it's neat, and I'm so happy that you got to look at it, touch it, feel it, and play with it a little bit before we started filming. And it sort of reminded me of Christmas morning when I see a little kid and they come down the steps and you got all excited. And that's like I've said earlier, that's 99% of the fun to me is to be able to share these cars with people. It doesn't do any good to let it sit in a warehouse or a building and nobody look at it.
Right. Well, and that's why we're doing this. For those that are watching, we want to bring you a front row seat to some really awesome
kind of a virtual
stuff.
Museum.
Yeah. Because these are things that don't necessarily make it out often. They may get driven.
The people that can afford these cars right now are busy working so they can afford these cars. Yes.
And here we are.
Exactly. And we just get to play with them and keep them clean and touch them.
Some of them did have Tremec transmissions. I think I mentioned that.
Correct.
But the setup, This one has 24-pound injectors, obviously because of a camshaft.
Right, it's got the bigger radiator.
Yeah.
And an oil cooler. That was kind of unique.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Which I wonder where that was.
It's down
made.
in here, down up in that scoop right there. I want to say that's where the actual radiator
yeah,
is for it.
I've got pictures of number 8. It has it right there in front of that scoop. So that's cool.
I'd like to tell you that's exactly where it is, but I take care of so many different cars. It's hard to remember everything about all of them.
Don't you wish you had that problem? Oh, but thanks, Mark. This is
oh, you're welcome, Bob.
An amazing. Well, it's good to be reunited with this car because it was the first one I saw. Yeah, this is awesome. So, thanks for having us here.
You're welcome.
All right, purists, that's a wrap for SA10 number 2. If you have any questions or comments, put them below the video. Mark and I will get to them, see if we can help you out. The other thing is Mark has a website, performanceautosport.com. Check it out. If you have a car you want to consign, you need to reach out to him because he has a huge connection of people out there. He's always got a list of cars that he's trying to work for people to find, and then you may have one that a client of his might need. So reach out to him, email him, get in touch with him. The other thing is check out puristmotorsports.com. We've got projects there. Stay tuned till next time. As always, whether you're driving them or restoring them, always enjoy them. Peace.